everybody, this is Jen from Scrap and Posh, and I am here to review some mini albums that I've made. I think that everybody probably has the question, do mini albums really last? They're made mostly of paper and glue, and exactly how long can I expect a mini album to last versus like maybe a scrapbook album or something like that? So I am here with some unaltered mini albums that I made about 7 years ago. 2012, 2013 is when I started making mini albums. So let's go through these and see how they've held up over the years. Okay, so this one, not my usual, I want to say, quality. Also very dusty. It is one of Tom's albums, and it's out on a shelf, not in a case or anything. And this one's using metal plates for the front and back, which was just kind of a novelty that I thought would be cool since it is a motorcycle album, and I used a duct tape spine. However, there is no actual cardboard spine to hook the paper to. So that's the first thing I want to note. Second thing is the tape, the duct tape obviously is held up well, and the embellishments that I use, which were the Jolies, actually are stuck on there pretty good. So that's exciting to see that those actually stayed in place. Now, the way that I put this together, and like I said, I was not as well versed in mini album making as I am now. So there is no Tyvek or anything in it, and I'm just going to go ahead and open this up so you can see it. I used ATG tape to hold these pages together, and it obviously has not held up, okay? And like I said, there was no spine to stick it all to, so it was just page to page contact, which also is not good because the hinges, although I do have hinges here, the page to page that I had these hooked together like this to have those two, the one that connected to the front and the one that connected to the front page, obviously, or this page, obviously didn't work. So yeah, that's the first thing that I noticed. The second thing that I noticed is that my scoring wasn't great, and it is beginning to peel. The tags held up well, so that's exciting. Again, these little Jolies seem to just keep giving and giving. It seems like the adhesive on all the tags, which would have been the ATG also, is just fine. So it's just the page that was under stress that buckled. We had some vellum here that I used, and this one doesn't have pictures in it, and it really hasn't been opened and closed, so keep that in mind. Again, the Jolies have held up well. The adhesive on the Jolies, and looks like maybe the ATG tape in this application did not hold up well. So again, the Jolies, and you can see dust on the top. Okay, so it's a combination of the adhesive I used, not giving enough room between the hinges. Like you can see, this is rolled over, it just completely rolled over on itself. And yeah, so having said that, this may be a challenge. You can see here how this page was supposed to be held on. It is not holding up. So it may be a cool challenge to take some of the embellishments and stuff that have held up in this album and possibly make a new album out of that, using the same idea but just different execution. So that's neat. There is some hot glue again on here holding this down. The hot glue did not hold up very well on the non-porous surface, so nothing surprising. I didn't have an exact date for that one, but I'm going to guess it was 2013. My next one is my Mariposa album, and this one does have pictures in it. So this one I followed a Kathy Orta, I believe. Yeah, Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day 2013. I made this for my stepmom. So I followed a Kathy Orta All Occasions mini album, I believe. Tutorial for this one, and I think tutorials are great to start, or you know, just if you don't want to think about how you're going to do something, tutorials are great. A couple things that I did on this one: there is a loop holding on the little charm, and it is a little charm, nowhere near as big as what I do now. This has been kept in a box, opened every once in a while, but not a whole lot. And some things that I noticed on the back: it looks like the spine's holding up good. It looks like the paper's holding on good as far as adhesive. Guessing that on this one I used score tape, and I got some metal corners, so of course the corners are holding up well. The embellishments were put on with a hot glue gun, and they're holding up well. And so were the silk and paper flowers on the front. Looks like some of them are coming up, but for the most part, it's held on there very well. Some of the bling got ripped off here. This was supposed to continue on. And then these little flat back hearts look like they're holding on fairly well. Probably put it on with glossy accents as well as this guy here. I used a elastic band closure, which was like a hair tie. And this, I'm assuming I had... I think this is actually screwed in there, and this was just a wooden knob that I screwed in and then covered it up with this. I'm assuming it's screwed in because I think that's probably the only reason I would have put this piece of embellishment here, to cover up that area. Some pictures in here, and I have lace on the inside. Again, I didn't quite know how to fix the inside cover as far as how it looked where the spine or the hinge system went in. And looking at the hinge system, it looks like it's a stack the deck hinge system, and it looks like I may have used a wet glue to put that down, and the hinge system is coming apart here, but it's not all the way coming apart, so keep that in mind. I want to say, based on, maybe I'll look at the video and figure out what it is, but I just see some glue in there, so I'm going to say that the hinge was held on by a wet glue. We have a pocket here and a tag. And I just have some pictures of Madison, some stickers that have held up well. These are the October Afternoon stickers, just a pretty in pink, which Madison never wears pink anymore. And it looks like these are holding up well too. The cut aparts for the pockets, which, you know, you always have some wear and tear on those. I cut these butterflies out on my Cricut and had Madison write on each one of them, so that's fun for Grandma and Grandpa to see, and it will be fun later on in life too. It looks like the tags have held up well. The pictures are still on them. This picture, I think, was printed on a printer, so you can see that it's fading a little bit. The butterflies that I used for the tags themselves are a little worn because they do stick outside of the album. Something else to think about when you're making your tag pulls. As you can see, they stick way far out. But it looks like the little beads that I put, the flatback beads that I put on them, for the most part, are still intact. So these are the tags. Sliding in and out doesn't seem to have negatively affected them. And again, this is the Mariposa DCWV collection, super cute collection. Favorite among everybody. I think paper crafters at that time swooned over the Mariposa collection. I don't think these are not magnetic. Okay, so this one I actually Velcroed in. because it was getting caught on this page. So again, a little technique issue that I had from from just being new. So this one's actually Velcroed on. The paper, the cardstock paper, which was just a 65-pound cardstock, which is what I've always used, seems to have held up well. This was a metal embellishment, and it had a couple gems there. Obviously they're missing. I already pulled that one out. It looks like the ATG in this one's holding up really well. None of the pictures are coming off. We have some bling here. This is a little wallet that I made. That opens up with an accordion wallet I made from other people. Another tutorial that I saw, which in the video below, or in the video link, I'm sure I gave credit where credit was due. So yeah, this is just a little mini wallet, and I think there's a place where it fits, so I'm going to leave that out for now. Some flowers. Of course, I don't put these bulky embellishments in my albums now, and you can see what it did to the pages around it. It kind of made it very rounded, I guess. This is the butterfly pull tab that gets squished when this is closed, and that was actually a sketchy picture from Chuck E. Cheese. And here we go. So again, you see the warping of the pages around some of the bulkier embellishments. This is a really cute tag pocket. You can see how old it is. Just my daughter just graduated from high school last year, so these little embellishment butterflies from Wild Orchids from 13 years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, whenever it was, they're still holding on. Another butterfly, and these little cut aparts I made from my Cricut. This pocket here has a bunch of tags in it. The pocket looks like it's held up well. Just some little, that's not our address nor our phone number anymore, so I'm not worried about that. And some little envelopes, and they look like they've held up well. I'm going to say that I used glue for the outside and then tape for the layering of the paper matting, so that turned out well. This one, I was trying to get something out from in there like just a minute ago when I was going through these, and I think I tore one of these. So, and I think it's just a bad placement of these little pockets. Maybe I went a little overboard. A little library pocket with some pictures in it. But, or maybe they're just all shoved in one when they should be put throughout the album. So, I'm just going to shove those back in there. I borrowed this from my stepmom, by the way. So here's the waterfall that I did. I did some heat embossing there. It's still there. It came out really well. One of the things with this is that the pearls, or the actual flaps, would get stuck on the pearls. So, but as long as you just open them one at a time, it's fine. Looks like everything here held up well. I think I actually glued down that last one. So there's a little waterfall. There's a tag, looks good. Not a whole lot of wear and tear on that one. This is a fold out here. That's still in good working condition. I have one of these flip out jobby jobs here. Everything seems to be good. It has a magnetic closure, a brad with a magnet underneath, so if you don't want to use two magnets, use a brad on top and a magnet underneath. Just a little tip. And I'm not sure if this is the All Occasions mini album from Kathy Order. This was, which is now Kathy King. This may have been a different one. Big place for a photo over here. And I made this little half pocket page. Had this been now, I would have made that open, but I didn't. And everything here looks good. Seems to be holding up well. little half page. Yeah, so I'm going to say that this is a win for a mini album. I don't know why I have this wrapped around here. I'm sure it's for decorative purposes. A little tree and embossed butterfly that I did on the back with a big Stampin' Up! Stamp from forever ago. And the one thing that I noticed is that I'm having problems putting the tags in because I did not cover the insides of the pockets. Okay, so there we go. There's the mini album. Like I said, it looks like it's holding up well. Again, the spine is pulled away from the, or the hinge is pulled away from the spine just a little bit, but not too bad. And I may have used hot glue, so note to self, don't use hot glue. Let's see how the score tape one's held up. And I never did find out where this goes, so I'm going to put it back where it was because it's already made its little home there. And I'm going to put him back in here too. So that one was from March of 2013. So he held up, I'm going to say he held up pretty good for a 7-year-old album. 8-year-old album. This is an altered cigar box. I use some Can Company words on the front. They're holding up well, and a Tim Holtz pull that has the screw-in bottom, so that's holding up well. And I didn't cover it because it goes with the paper. And I did put some decorative corners on them, and it looks like I hot glued them, and they are not staying on. So they do have brads that go through them. I don't think the brads were long enough to accommodate, so those just need to be repaired a bit. And the box, of course, is holding up well. It is some paper tearing here, but I can always reinforce that. So pull the album out. And this is a 6x8. This is a Kathy Orta album tutorial that I filmed. It looks like the paper inside's holding up pretty well, but it is from pulling the album out. It has some, what do I want to say? Looks like it's been folded down a little bit. And if I were to do it now, I would have distressed it, because you can see the white corners. So that's the box, and every time I do something, this thing gets caught, so definitely have to fix that. So I used one of the Tim Holtz, no, I used 2 of the Tim Holtz little rings here that they're brads, so they go all the way through. So the charm is holding up well, and then I just used some metal charms. It looks like I did some alcohol inking here. There's a motorcycle, like an Indian head. These are Tim Holtz, and I think every single one of these actually goes down through with the brads, and these gears kind of still move. I made them so they don't fit between each other, so it's not like they would move like actual gears, but they do move. And then I have the clock where the clock hand moves, and then this little gold piece, music note, the frame, and these little roses are held on by hot glue. Looks like they're holding up pretty good. This little guy's ready to fall off, so he needs to be touched up a little bit. And then of course the metal corners, which have kept the book, nice and square. This one is the hidden hinge system, and you can see the hidden hinge system, the actual hinge to spine is holding on very well, but the paper that I put underneath that hinge is not connected to the hinge. So when I did this, I thought that I had to cover that spine, not knowing that by doing so, I just actually decreased the power or the strength of that spine, because instead of having all the surface area holding directly to the spine. I have surface area on surface area that's supposed to be holding to the spine. This is score tape that I used here, and you can see it's not holding up very well in this condition, but it's still sticky. I can put my hand in there and it's still sticky. This side is holding on very well. So you can see that the album's probably been sitting this way, making that torsion pull. So if you have an album that's sitting flat, is more likely not to buckle on that spine. Now, opening it up, the hidden hinge doesn't exactly sit flat, but it sits pretty flat. Looks like I had an excess of buildup of my pages down here, probably because of the spine. Let's go in to see how everything held up. Now this one does have pictures in it also. It's actually one of my most viewed mini albums, and I don't know if it's because of the time that I posted it or if it's because it was Tim Holtz. And again, this one is from August of 2013. So that is a pullout, and this is Kathy Order's All Occasion Mini Album tutorial. So these are all pictures of Tom and his dad, and because this was in memory of his dad who died in 2012, I think. Yes, 2012. So it took me about 8 months to get it ready, and I have more pictures. I was going to make a sister one similar, but as I was flipping through the pictures, I realized that all the pictures were of Tom and his dad, and very little of, you know, just his dad or his sister. I used some of the Tim Holtz tiny letters here to label these photo mats that I have, and they are sticking very well. The ATG tape is sticking well, both on the photos, the mats. There's no wear and tear on the, what do I want to say? On the punching here, on the border punching. And these are K & Company stickers, and they seem to be holding up well also. So we have some small photo mats. And this is a mix of papers. I think the first half is probably some Tim Holtz and some DCWV, and then we get into a hunting stack. So this is fun. I just put these lock, stock, and barrel because they're hunters, and I just kind of tuck these tags under there, and they look like they've stayed well. Of course, having it in the box helps too. I used some deer head brads. Like I said, they are hunters. Sorry if you are not. And everything seems to hold up really well. Again, this is probably like the 4th or 5th mini album that I created. So yeah, it's, you know, a lot of technique was improved in this versus the first few. And these are the Tim Holtz, what were they called? The pull tabs, and they had their own little labeling system, and they have yellowed quite a bit. So then again, Tim Holtz stuff is supposed to be, you know, old, and I think this fits the bill. This is some kind of acrylic photo mat that I had. Oh, that's a turn page. I have a photo mat. Here's a pocket. It has some actual some of his documents in there, some of his handwriting and such. So it's a fun little album to flip back at and have memories. These are the guys. I think Tom actually took it to camp with him once, and all the guys sat around and looked at it and enjoyed, you know, the memories that it brought. So, and that's what's important. That's why we do what we do. So again, if I were to redo this, I would make it so this went down a little bit, and then I would fix where the tags keep getting stuck on these corners. But all in all, I think this has held up well. The tape has held up well, the glue has held up well, the cardstock. the bins, the folds, the pockets, the gears, the embellishments. It looks like everything is really well. Keep in mind that this was in a box, so maybe that is an idea that you would like to keep yours in a box too, because obviously it has held up better than the first two. But the last one was not in a box either. So, and we'll see how that held up. Here we go. One more. Tag, pocket. I made a little pocket on the back to put his obituary in. So just a book of memories there, and some personalized items in that, such as the altered cigar box, and some of his handwritten, you know, licenses and notes and such. So there is that box and album, and then the very last album that I want to share with you is from 2014. Okay, so this guy is a little bigger, and he does not have photos in him. I completely meant to put Madison's school pictures in here when she, you know, all the way up to graduation, so I haven't discounted that yet. I may still do it. So, this is the Authentique paper. It is way retired. I actually had a giveaway of this paper after I created this album, and this one was made in 2014. I just recently finished using the scraps from this album and some cards that I made, so that's a nice little tidbit of information. So this was the 8x10 album from Kathy Orta, and I cannot remember the name of it, but it was a free... Is this a free tutorial online? No, I think you had to pay for this one. So it is a big album, so it's nice to have a little bit of diversity. And again, this was probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 albums into my album making career. So the first thing I noticed is that the binding has held up pretty well as far as no paper tearing or coming off. I did just glue one of these little guys back on that was coming up, but none of them are glued on. They're all free moving. I do have a little bit of give in this tape here, and I have a tear on the paper here. And then I have a spine issue here, which is a tear of the paper. So that's something that kind of sucks, and you really got to watch out for. It may be that I did not leave enough room between the spine and the spine and the covers. So this album has been sitting on its back, or on its bottom, just like this, and you can see that the spine here is still intact very well. This one is directly connected to the chipboard and not to another piece of paper like the Tim Holtz album was. So first thing I noticed is everything is very well kept, and like I said, of course, there's no pictures in this, so it hasn't been gone through quite as much. However, I have, you know, gone through quite a bit. I do like this album. It's one of my favorites. I have a belly band here, and there was no box for this. It's been sitting free, and the little tags are still in this belly band. And then I made this little thing that like went over it. I cut out tabs on my Silhouette or Cami or Cricut or whatever I was using at the time, which I still do, so it's kind of fun to see that. One of the things that I did differently in this album, and this album probably has Tyvek on the spine too, by the way, is there's room to mat this here so your tags don't get stuck when you pull them in and out. And about 3 years ago, I actually went through this album and I did some maintenance on it. One of the things that I did, and I don't know that I did it on all of them, so we may see some of this happening, is that all these little border strips, get in there, he doesn't want to go in. All these little border strips, I used the, yep, they're coming off. So I used the zig two-way pin on them, and you can see that they are coming off, which is something that I've seen on everything that I've used that pen on. I wouldn't call the zig two-way pen a permanent adhesive. It's wonderful because it's just a pin and you can put it on, but it doesn't quite hold up as well as I think that it should. So there was some maintenance done in gluing some of these letters and stuff back on. So this is such a fun album. Retro Fit Mini Album, I think is what it's called, was the name of the actual album. There's lots of pockets and tags and everything. And of course, when you make albums off of somebody else's tutorial, you come up with your own ideas. And this is how I got started making mini albums, is by using other people's tutorials. Some of them came out successful, some of them did not. That's how you learn. And this one, because I did follow the tutorial exactly, it's one of the best ones I'm gonna say that I've ever made. And there's no shame in that, is that it was somebody else's idea. And it is holding up well after, you know, the test of time. Okay, so here is some of the... And my dog is in here. Here are some of the letters that have come off and maybe missing some of those items, or I'm sure they're somewhere, but I can always redo this. It looks like the third is gone and the grade has moved. It's connected somewhere, not where it's supposed to be. Another reason why I like this album is because it looks like a scrapbook. Like there is like definite places to put your photos. Here and here on the mats, obviously. There's a small mat here, so definitely tells you exactly what you need to, where you need to put your stuff. And then again, this is just like an edge punch here. I'm going to move these back over here so I don't ruin them. Looks like so far the only one that is missing is the HIRD from third, so we'll see if we can find that. Some super cute cutouts from the Cricut, I believe, and another one of these tags. There may have been two in there at some point and I lost one. 6th grade looks like it's still intact. 5th grade is good. This is a 4-pocket page. They all come out of there. And then a large tag, all intact. So that's good that everything's still here. I don't think I had a grade on this one. It just said 7th and then the 8th grade over here. So it was like assumed that it was a grade, which I could have done the same thing if the 3rd was still there on that one page, but the grade had not been. So yeah, this album is super fun, isn't it? 10th grade, 11th, 12th, and let's look at this picture, or this mat rather, and then the very last page I put, I did this little fold out thing, so those are super cute. Just glued those on there, and each one of these has a number. Looks like the numbers are all there. So in the entire album, the only thing that I've lost so far is the 3rd, which I'll have to print out again when I get ready to actually use this album. And then on the back I did a nice senior thing, which Madison's senior pictures would look lovely on here. And a large photo mat to pull out right there. So, not only did we just review some of my very old and maybe somewhat embarrassing albums that I made at the beginning, which is fine. You know, you have to start somewhere. Nobody's perfect ever, and especially not when they're starting out. So yeah, here are 4 albums. We got 2000, lots of 2013s. It looks like 3 2013 albums and 1 2014 albums. There's some tips and tricks, techniques that you should and shouldn't use for these albums. And learning from my mistakes, and you know, how long do you want your albums to last, what adhesives you should and shouldn't use, etc. Keeping them in a box obviously protects them, and yeah, definitely don't do what I did here, but maybe we'll have some fun with this and redo it up to today's standards, using, like, instead of metal plates, which has a non-porous surface, maybe we can use some of our paints and techniques to make our own metal-like surface. Yeah, and don't recommend using Zig 2A pens for things that you want to last for a very long time, unless maybe they're in some page protectors. Hot glue does not last forever. And that's about it. So I've been wanting to do this video for a really long time and just share with you how long mini albums really last. So these are about 7 years old. I think they've stood up to the test of time. Let me know in the comments below if you think they stand up to the test of time, if you think that the effort that you put into them is worth what you get out of them. Because even if they only last 10 years, which these are going to last 10 years, or 20 years, they definitely wouldn't last a flood, but I think they're well worth it. And I appreciate everybody watching, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.